All right. Yeah, man. We are live. All right. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Multifamily Inc. podcast, where we're breaking down the walls of traditional investing and opening doors to multifamily success. I'm your host, Nizan Mosery. I'll be your guide through the wild world of multifamily strategies. So let me ask you a question. Are you ready to kick down the barriers of bad credit, lack of funds, zero credit history? Well, guess what? You're in luck, because here we're all about helping you get into your first multifamily property without breaking a sweat or the bank. Now, join us every episode where we dive into the art of acquisition, the science of management, and the magic of raising capital. From newbie investors to seasoned pros, we've got something for everyone on this wild ride to financial freedom. So buckle up, grab your notepad, and let's embark on this multifamily adventure together. And let's turn those real estate dreams into reality. And today I've got an incredible host, an incredible guest on our show. His name is Jose Ortiz, and he is a tax strategist and a tax mentor and coach. And we're going to be talking today about the 6 pillars of tax planning. So without further ado, I'm going to let Jose introduce himself a lot better than I did, because I am not doing this gentleman any justice right now. Jose, what's happening, my friend?
What's going on, man? Thanks for having me. It's an honor. I'm Jose Ortiz. I'm a CPA and I'm a certified tax coach, and I'm the owner of the Scale Collective, where we focus on tax planning, mentorship, uh, and obviously providing the other foundational services to accommodate that kind of service.
That's right. You're also yeah, you said you're a certified tax coach, a mentor, you're a strategist, and we're going to be talking about the 6 pillars of tax planning. Because if for those of you that are listening to us right now, it's not enough to go out there and build your real estate empire. Okay, because that's one aspect of the business. The other aspect, as we said, is managing your assets, raising capital for that. But on the flip side of that, on the back end, what you don't see, what everybody should see and should have part of their in-house team, is someone like Jose, who can talk with you and help you with your tax strategy, because that could either break your bank or it could make your bank. Am I right, Jose?
Correct.
So tell us more a little bit about yourself, how you got started in the CPA world, and let's move into the 6 pillars of tax planning, right? So what are the 6 pillars? And first tell us a little bit, how you got started and where your history in CPA and how you came about understanding the 6 pillars, and then let's go into that.
And it's been a ride for me. I got into kind of understanding about real estate when I used to work with my dad. He used to go and do a lot of work for landlords, for slumlords, New York. So that's how I kind of got into this. And then slowly but surely, I'm kind of thinking, as I got older, I'm like, why aren't we those people instead of being the people that do the repairs and stuff? So that kind of it piqued my curiosity. And then how life can be. Just kind of introduced me. I started work when I moved down to South Florida. One of the first jobs that I worked for a software, because I've always been interested in software as well. And it was a property management software and construction software. So that's where I got a lot of my outside education about real estate. And then, I go and do the whole CPA world thing, do the auditing. I did government for a while. Then I wound up back in property management accounting. Then I wound up back in software. And it's just been a ride. And then that's basically where kind of I said, okay, you know what? It's time to build a network in the logistics industry. And then I said, hey, I have to kind of figure out, because there's very low margins in logistics. When I started off, that's who I was catering to. So then I say I had to make that shift. And where else would I make that shift but real estate, right? The thing that I read Robert Kiyosaki years ago. That was just, for me, was, I guess, like a lot of people, it was a game changer. And then slowly but surely, I just kind of been starting this whole tax thing, realizing the power of tax strategy and so forth. So yeah, I mean, kind of getting into the six pillars. I always start off with three principles that I want my clients to have. This is how we know we're a good fit. You have to believe before any other investment that you make in real estate, you have to believe that your first investment should be in yourself, right? Because just like the stock market, we're all investors. Just like the stock market, what's going to pay off eventually is dividends, right? And those dividends are paid off by way of not making screwed up mistakes that cost you, right? And a lot of those mistakes come by tax planning, right?
Right.
Not so. Then the other thing is I believe that emotions cannot create decisions for you, but your decisions can create emotions. So with that being said, what do I mean? Well, bad buying decisions, right? Because you base them on emotions. And then you have these good, if you make your decisions to create emotions, then what you want to do is plan up to that. What I mean by that, you want to be free, financially free. That's an emotion to me, right?
Sure.
That's free. So then that's what you should be aiming towards. And those decisions need to be guided towards that end, right? So that's what I mean by that. And then the last one is fine to me. If you don't believe this, then it's hard to work with you because financial acumen is a prerequisite. It's to owning a business or investing in real estate. I made a lot of mistakes. Trust me, I made a lot of mistakes in my life. But the one mistake that I did not make, the best choice was I got a degree in finance and I got a degree in accounting. And those are the language of business.
Sure. That's right.
So that's my three principles. And if you believe in that kind of stuff, then obviously it's you can feel what I'm saying. Then
I love the fact that you said, emotions and decisions and whatnot. And it's so true because if you've made a bad decision and you're in a crappy property right now, guess what? Life sucks. You're not enjoying life. Your emotions are down in the toilet. So you've got, and it's very hard to separate that because it's, as entrepreneurs, we're thinking about it 24 hours a day. It never turns off. Right. So you've got to make the good decisions, the right decisions, so that you can have the best emotions, right? And then the good emotions will just keep, and it's a stepping ladder.
exactly. So you got to get somebody in your team, and then so even before the six pillars, I have something where this has just been something that I've encountered over and over again and again this tax season is that I've realized so many times that people get into these decisions. We're talking about them. And this happens a lot with high W-2 earners. They want relief from tax. They go online, they see some guy talking about this stuff on YouTube. Don't necessarily understand it completely. Then they would get into an investment, realize, oh, that's passive. That doesn't do anything for my active income, right? So they, those are the kind of decisions that, obviously kill you. And I've seen that again and again and again. So this is why I created this foundations first. It's a boot camp, but it's also to develop a roadmap, right? So what is the first step? Is discovery, right? Discovery. Who are you, right? So who are you necessarily? What do you do? What are your risk tolerances? Who are you as a person? How do you see money? Because all these things you got to kind of think about. Why are you doing this? Are you doing it? Are you putting the text, ahead of the actual, necessity and all that kind of stuff? What are your goals and objectives? Have you thought those through? Well, now it's time. You got to think those through, right? And then by when, right? So it's really the who, what, when, and then the where. Where do you want to put your money? Right? I like real estate. It's awesome,
Sure.
but different things as the relationship progresses. I just happen. You guys are already here in real estate, so that's what we're going to talk about first. But where do you want to put this money? There's a whole bunch of different options. And then the second step is education. Like I said, I just there's no other way, right? It's not my fault, but you got to learn this stuff before you get in, And
Sure.
so I educate you, but I educate you based on what you kind of where you're inclining towards, And I'll tell you if your risk tolerance is low. I mean, it might not be the best thing.
Sure, exactly. You got to have that personality to be able to handle these types of investments and kind of let go of it.
Exactly. Yeah. And then, the other thing is once we have the education, once we know who you are, you know what your objectives are and all that stuff, what your goals are, Then it's about processes. What are the processes that you're going to put in place? This is where a lot of people just drop the ball. Because if you don't have processes, you don't have anything, right? You're, and don't get me wrong, we all do this, especially when we start off as entrepreneurs. We didn't go, nobody taught us this stuff, so we have to wing
Huh.
it. But
Mm-hmm.
then I start realizing, dude, this happens to me too many times. I need to develop processes, right? So that's just the next thing. And then the other thing is, the last thing is the systems. You have to be able to work with systems. QuickBooks. I mean, it's hard for me to work with somebody who just drops Excel sheets at the end of the year. You have to have those systems in place in order to be able to prepare for those 6 pillars.
Mm-hmm.
Tax plan ready. So basically, from all of those things, what happens is the deliverable is a strategic roadmap, right? Now you're dictating what's going to happen to you, and that's power.
That's great.
So yeah, so that's basically how we get you to the point where you can leverage strongly those 6 pillars, right? So getting into that, we have income shifting as the first pillar. What does income shifting mean? It's just moving taxable income to lower tax brackets. And how do we do that? Well, years, within families, and within entities. So, for example, hiring your child. Right? We hear that one a lot on the internet. Hiring your kid. Well, that's an example of income shifting, just moving it to a lower tax bracket, right? In which cases it could be zero. So, or maybe if you're a sponsor of a fund and you have a management company, right? Maybe eventually you decide to kind of move it to an S corp to save on self-employment tax. 15.3. It's big. So that's the example of income shifting. Now, expense shifting is more working with the net operating losses, your passive activity losses, business deductions, and particularly here where it's really relevant is the depreciation, right? Talking about lives, depreciation of lives and methods. So an example of that, well, cost segregation, right? So basically cost segregation, we take advantage of moving up, accelerating the depreciation based on the lives of the assets. So that's something that you guys would all be familiar with. The other thing is the business deductions. And this is why within the realm of expense shifting, this is why I keep harping on having proper systems, because if you're able to maximize your business deductions, and you really have you have an advantage, you do, right? If you're really taking the time to invest in these systems and stuff like that, you now it's a process. Now it's just you guys are getting used to this, right? Now you can hire a virtual assistant that just handles things off. So this is why it's so important. Um, the third pillar is loopholes. So what's familiar with you guys? Well, short-term rentals. Obviously, it gets talked about all the time. So you have short-term rentals, but you also have something that's pretty prevalent right now that's going to expire in a couple of years is Section 199A, the qualified business income deduction. Right. So unless something happens, by the grace of God over there in Washington, that's going to expire, and that's 20% right off your tax bill for those who qualify. So really, really important. And then the next pillar, the fourth, is income recharacterization. So when I talk about that stuff in real estate, I really talk about passive activities. How can we get those passive activities become active, right? Or vice versa in some cases. That's what we talk about there. And obviously, you guys know a lot about passive activity losses, the real estate, professional status. Those are all kind of things that apply there with the income recharacterization. And then the fifth pillar is investments. Well, we all know that, right? Nizan, we've done some deals together. The investments are, right, to obviously, yes, you feel like you want to contribute to society, but also it doesn't hurt. We had bonus deduct, and we still have bonus depreciation this year.
Right.
So that's just, but you see, the decisions are more not tax inclined, right? But more because that's what you want to do. That's the goal. And that's the goal of my clients. And it just happens that that's the icing on the cake. And then the last one is tax credits, sixth pillar. And that's more, I'll say it like this: you have a company, you want to offer health benefits, well, you get your healthcare tax credit, right? And that could be up to a 50% deduction, or just for providing employee premiums. So those are the 6 pillars. And those are the things that I kind of coach over the life of our relationship. Obviously, we have to get you to a certain point, I think. Even those experienced people, because you're going to learn something, you know, you're going to learn something and about yourself or something you didn't know, or maybe something that you just had a total misconception about. But then we can get into serious tax planning uh, from that point because you're ready. You know, the machine is already revving up.
Right. So, okay, now let's talk about the benefits. You talked about the six pillars, right? Doing all that. What's the benefit to an investor to start working through all those six pillars for their business and their lifestyle, right? Obviously, it's tax savings, but what, like, go deeper into it, right?
Yeah. Well, we talked a little bit about Kiyosaki. Let's talk about the four quadrants so you can understand this because it's way more than just tax. This is like kind of moving. If you can imagine, a lot of us. I started off in the E. We're all familiar with it, the E quadrant on the left side. I'm at the this S now. Like, dang it, this gets frustrating after a while. So I want to get over to the other side, right? So I want to be that business owner, right? So basically, and when I mean business owners, I'm not working in the business. I'm working, right? So think about this.
Right.
If we're not implementing these things that I just talked about that help save tax, and we know, right, that when we invest in tax planning, your savings can be significant. And if you're thinking about growth and you're reinvesting all that stuff in, well, aren't you slowly but surely moving from that left side to the right side?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
So, and obviously, then you want to go down to the I and you're the investor. And, that is good. I mean, this is all if you want to do it. Some people are happy where they are. Again.
Right, right, right. You got to understand that. So, all right, now, how about different tax? So, how should an investor start setting up their portfolio or their companies? What would be the best way, or a good SOP, standard operating procedure for an investor when they're starting out in the investment world? Should be some of their first things that they should be looking at, or the paths that they need to go down?
I mean, it's not going to be a surprise to you. It's going to be obviously get your financial stuff together, get it together, get that bookkeep. I don't care. Look, some people don't want it, and I've had plenty of clients like this. They don't want to invest in QuickBooks. They want to do things in Excel. Think about what you're doing. Right? You're limiting yourself out the gate, right? To me, software. I mean, that's just cost of doing business. That's the entry fee into the nightclub, right? That's so. Those are the kind of things you want to think about. Then also developing standard operating procedures as much as you can for everything you do. Right? This
Mm-hmm.
is things that are just going to pay off, and it seems
Right.
like it's mundane and grunt work and everything. Yeah, but you do it once, right? And then you can get a system that can continue that path. So those are the kind of things when it comes to from a financial perspective, it's key. Making sure you record your travel expenses, picking your mileage. I mean, these are things. Yeah, man, I know not always the best, but there's now QuickBooks and all these other softwares out there offer, they can actually detect the mileage. You just classify it if it's business, whatever. You can take pictures. You got to do the work. Nobody says it's easy, and
Mm-hmm.
you learn it too, man. No, it is what it is. It's nobody's fault. But and then the other thing too, that I'll leave you with this is think about going to a football game. Would you go to a football game or a soccer game? What do you want to say? And they're not keeping score. How long will you stay there?
Right.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
They're keeping score. So then you're being forced to be reactive instead of proactive. And this is what this is all about.
That's great. That's great information. Thank you for sharing that. Appreciate that. It's some great knowledge and some great information that listeners out there should be taking into consideration. Let me ask you this. Any recent changes in tax laws or regulations that people should be aware of for investors or anything of that nature? Can you think of anything that's
Yeah.
changed? So I
Well,
know, this industry changes, right? Every time you talk to a CPA, it's like, oh, we're waiting for the new laws to come out. We're waiting for the new guidelines to come out.
yeah. Well, as far as legislation, I think that one's out the door. There was hope that we'd get this bonus depreciation, for this year and possibly for last year retroactively. But then fell in the lap of Senate. Some gentleman named Crapo, that's his really last name, is Crapo. So he obviously forced it to die in the Senate. So that's gone. But what you do have is a decrease in the bonus depreciation this year. And so it's so key to our business. But you can imagine we're at 60%, still great. I think 40% is great, 20%, but eventually if this doesn't get renewed, then it's at a disadvantage for us. So we're hoping for that.
That's going to affect the real estate investment industry very, very strongly, don't you think?
Right. Well, there's always gonna be things. I'll just put it that way. But it's gonna take out a key element of planning that we're just. But like I said, there's always new things. But it'll hurt. It'll hurt at least in this.
Is there is there how can we plan ahead for when that cost segregation for that bonus depreciation starts to disappear? What are some other things that we should be looking at to kind of be able to offset our passive income?
That's a fantastic question because here's the thing about tax planning that people don't understand is that it's not necessarily like you call me, hey, can I say how much can I save today, right? That's not necessarily the whole goal here. The whole goal is to have bullets in your holster that you can deploy when you need them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if we know, right now, knowing that it's going to be phased out, bonus depreciation, possibly, hopefully something happens. But if we know that, then doesn't that impact our decision today?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe if I don't make enough off of that bonus depreciation moving forward when I plan on buying certain building X, but I know I have passive activity losses that are sitting there waiting for me to use and they're suspended. Do I use those today or do I use them when I know the 20% depreciation? I'm not going to get a depreciation later. That's what I mean. It's the timing. It's not just, you know what I mean? So those are the kind of things you want to think about.
And that's what you work with your clients, right?
It's the savings, yeah, and everybody wants to hit the jack. It's like going to Vegas, you hit the jackpot, whatever. But that's not necessarily the game. The game is kind of learning the timing of decisions, being proactive with your decision, and that's you. I
Mm-hmm.
kind of obviously want to like help you. That's why we do this whole foundation first.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Uh, let's see. Uh, what are some key factors? And maybe you can talk a little bit about this because it's when people invest in real estate and they invest in general, they should be thinking long term, thinking retirement, right?
Yeah.
Um, what are some key factors that individuals should consider when they're starting to invest and they're thinking about retirement?
Man, okay, so uh, I read this once and I can't remember who said it, but they say real estate is a forced retirement. It's a forced retirement plan, if you think about it, which kind of, makes you think, should you be pumping so much money in your 401k, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're going to invest in real estate, it's only you, right? And you need to make that whole thing work. Whereas, you put in 401k, your eyes are blind to everything. Most people do, unless you're like really proactive about that stuff. So you have to kind of consider it that way, right? Now, what you also have to do, like I said, we kind of go back to timing, right? So the timing of things. Where do you want to be by a certain age? Right? Because obviously, if we're talking about retirement, well, when do you want to retire? If you're
Mm-hmm.
30 years old, that's a hell of a lot different from 65, which means we have to be way more aggressive. It's in terms of kind of like how you're going to build your portfolio and how we're going to tax plan, right? So those are the kind of things you have to kind of keep in your mind. And then, basically, what are the end goals? What are the numbers? What are we striving to? I believe in writing things down, right? That's why I build a roadmap, because that's, we talk about like what the long-term goals are. What's the number and by when? You know, why not just put it on paper?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's great. That's great. That's great stuff. Um, what are some red flags that that people should avoid when they're looking at tax planning and things of that nature?
I know it kind of it's hard for people to kind of see the value of having a CPA by your side all the time. But in reality, man, you're avoiding a lot of mistakes, right? So what you want to do. The red flags are looking for cheap, like it's cheap. It's just like real. I mean, the concepts roll over. You're gonna get what you pay for. Buy a bad property, it's cheap.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But that's what's happened. And if you don't have somebody on your side, like a CPA that's actually involved in the real estate, knows people in the industry, goes out and actively participates in stuff,
Right.
you're kind of at a disadvantage. So spend the money. I mean, more important, it's really an investment in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Spend the money. So that kind of stuff, the red flags are just hiring anybody, not kind of qualifying them, not looking to build a relationship with them because this is a long term game. Real estate's a long play.
That's right.
So if you don't have somebody by your side, you're gonna make the bad decisions. You're gonna overspend. You're gonna lose money. You're gonna find the wrong supplier, whatever it may be. You know how it happens. Yeah,
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, that's great. And yeah, you know, I've had CPAs who were, they just took the information, did what they had to do, and filed a tax return, and that was it, right? And then you have CPAs who don't understand bonus depreciation because they've never used it. It's not their world, right? It's like doctors, right? Today we have, you have a doctor for this part of the nose, a doctor for that part of the nose, and a doctor for this part of the nose, right? Everybody's getting all so niche because it's so diverse, and there's new technology that's coming in to help in that industry, and it's breaking it all down. So it's the same thing with tax preparations and tax consulting and tax strategy. There's so much, the tax code is thousands and thousands and thousands of pages, right?
Yeah.
So not every tax strategist, CPA knows, deals with all of that tax code, right? You just deal with, okay, this is where we're at. So it's good to have someone on your team like yourself who understands, okay, I'm working with investors. I'm working with these types of people that have these goals in mind. And I'm going to make sure that I understand the tax code and how it works and how to apply it and how to help these people, investors in the best way possible, right? So that you understand cost segregation, you understand 1031s, DSTs, and you understand. So you like you said, now your belt is fully loaded, and you're coming to your clients going, okay, what are we working with here today? What do we got? So I think that's a very important part of the team of any investors team. Is having someone like you, they're ready to answer the questions, to guide them, to say, okay, let's think 2-3 years down the road, right? What's our goal from there? And let's set that up so that we hit that goal over there, not the immediate, or also the immediate, right?
No short-term thinking.
No short-term thinking, man. Absolutely. Absolutely. So you said that you've got a boot camp coming up, right?
Yeah, so this foundation's first thing, we're getting it underway. So basically, we're getting a lot of leads from bigger pockets and so forth. And as I had been talking a little bit, there's just a lot of newcomers to the industry who are looking for direction, which is positive. There's also the people who just kind of gotten burnt. And it's like, to me, the way I see things is, if I have a skill, put it this way, if I know how to swim and I see a kid across the pool that doesn't know how to swim, am I going to let him jump in that pool? You know what I'm saying? Not to that extreme, but you can feel what I'm saying. I have a skill and I just want to help people avoid those mistakes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. How can people get in touch with you?
Well, you can find me. My email is jortiz@thescalecollective.net. I think to my left here, you'll see a QR code.
Mm-hmm.
Is it my left or right? I don't know. Sometimes these things get transferred. So it's probably my right. Go ahead and scan it, and it'll take you to my business card where you can go ahead and find, you can book with me, a short meet and greet where I can get to know you, talk a little bit about, what your direction wants to be.
And you said it's jortiz@scalecollective.com.
.net.
.net. Yes, .net. Okay.
It's all on that card on the QR.
Perfect. I'm just typing it in here for the people on Facebook for them to see. Wonderful, my man. So thank you so much. It's fantastic. We're looking to put on a 2-day event as well. How to get into multifamily, how to get into multifamily ownership if you have no credit, bad credit, no money, no track record, right? But that's where you want to go. And we'd love to have you there as well, talking and sharing knowledge with people on stage. It's going to be May 31st and June 1st, either in Boca or Del Rey at one of these hotels. And it's going to be a fantastic weekend. We're going to be talking about how to get into multifamily, how to raise capital from other people, how to network properly, how to tax plan and tax strategize so that you can start out on the right foot. When I got started doing this kind of stuff here in Florida, I went balls to the wall. And then it was like, okay, let's try to fix all these mistakes. And let's try to, if I would have just set everything up correctly from the beginning, it would have been a lot less expensive, a lot less headache, a lot less time. Right. So, yeah. So we'd love to have you on that as well. And everybody, thank you for being on the show. We appreciate your time. We appreciate everything. So remember, guys, you can reach Jose. You can grab that QR code on the screen right there. And for those of you that are just listening to us, you can email him at Ortiz. That's JORTIZ at scalecollective.net. And thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Multifamily Inc. podcast. If you enjoyed today's show and want to dive deeper into the world of multifamily investing, be sure to subscribe and leave us a review. And hey, if you got questions, comments, or just want to share your own multifamily success story, we'd love to hear from you. Drop us a line on social media. Check out our public Facebook group, Multifamily Inc. All right. And shoot us an email. You can fill out an application to come work with me personally at www.multifamilyinc.com. That's multifamilyinc.com/application. And remember, whether you're working with bad credit, no credit, or just a burning desire to build your real estate empire, you've got what it takes to make it happen. Keep hustling, keep dreaming, and most importantly, keep investing in yourself. Until next time, stay motivated and keep crushing those multifamily goals. And I'll see you on the next episode. Take care.